No one but my mother, and I know that almost every meal I make for her is revenge. I have never told anyone this, not even my husband, but it happened again tonight, and I'm feeling a bit giddy because of how well it worked yet again. So I want to brag. I know this makes me a terrible person, and part of the reason I've never told anyone is because I'm aware that what I'm doing isn't exactly commendable behavior. But honestly, I don't care. Sometimes you've got to do what feels right to you, and this feels like my own small victory. When I was little, my mother had it out for me. I was always a bad kid in her eyes, and she wanted to use corporal punishment on me specifically, not my siblings, never them. They could do no wrong, apparently. But because she thought I was such a troublemaker, she wanted my dad to hit me. My dad, however, flat out refused. He made it clear that if she ever laid a hand on me, he wouldn't be able to stay with her. He didn't want anyone hitting his kids. My dad had his own rough past. He was abused pretty badly when he was a kid. That's a whole other story in itself, and if I got into it, we'd be here all day. But because of his past, he was adamant about not repeating this cycle of violence. Since she couldn't hit me, my mom decided on a different form of punishment. Whenever she got mad at me, she would make me eat spicy food. She knew I hated it. It wasn't just a mild dislike. Spicy food would make me genuinely sick. I would get full-on stomach cramps, diarrhea, the whole works. She made sure to only do this when my dad was at work, which was most nights at dinner. Whenever I asked for something else to eat, she'd start crying, saying things like, "Don't you love me? Don't you appreciate the time I spend making your food?" She would guilt-trip me into eating it, making me feel like it was my fault for not wanting to eat something that was literally making me sick. Looking back, it was a pretty messed up situation, but at the time I didn't realize just how manipulative she was being. When I turned 16, I was expected to take on more responsibilities around the house, which included cooking dinner twice a week. This is where things started to change. My mother absolutely hates pasta. It's a texture thing for her, and she always complains that it's slimy and disgusting. One night, not long after my dad switched to working morning shifts and was home for dinner more often, I had an idea. Earlier that day, my mom had screamed at me for something trivial, and I was still seething with anger. That's when it hit me I could make her eat something she despised, just like she used to make me eat spicy food. So, that night, I decided to make pasta for dinner. I loaded up a sauce and made sure it was extra saucy and slimy, just the way she hates it. Sometimes I'd make dishes like baked spaghetti, which she also can't stand, especially the way the top looks when it's baked. The first time she tried to turn it down, I put on my best sad face, let my eyes fill with tears, and looked down at the table. I said, "You've always eaten it before, Mom. What did I do wrong this time? Are you mad at me?" She couldn't refuse. My dad was sitting right there, and she couldn't make a scene in front of him or anyone else whose opinion she cared about. Since then, this has become my petty little revenge. I'm 26 years old now, and nearly every meal I cook for my mother involves pasta in some form. I've made it my mission to serve her the one food she hates every chance I get. It's my way of getting back at her for all those years she made me suffer. All those nights she forced me to eat something that made me sick. And every time she tries to refuse, I just turn on the waterworks, acting hurt and disappointed. "Why don't you like it, Mom? Did I do something wrong and she has to eat it?" She can't show her true feelings in front of everyone else. She has to choke it down, just like I had to choke down all those spicy meals she made me eat as a kid. Honestly, I don't care if this makes me a bad person. She was terrible to me, and this is my small way of getting back at her. Watching her try to keep a straight face while she's forcing herself to eat chicken Alfredo or a big plate of spaghetti is a highlight of my week. I know it's petty, but it feels good to finally have a little bit of power in a situation where I had none for so long. And as long as she keeps eating it and pretending like everything is fine, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not going to be the one to break up the family or be seen as a bad guy for not trying to keep things together. As far as I'm concerned, this is just the beginning.